Today we're making a billboard. Hi guys, welcome back to Gryphon Studio. So this week I was challenged with a little competition piece where I had to make something that was repurposed into something else. So I've made a billboard that's now a watchtower, and it's pretty cool. Really grimy, really weathered, rusty, kind of urban style terrain, very Fallout-like. It's really cool. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So let's get to it. Alright, so I figured that 15 centimeters by 9 centimeters would be a good size for a billboard, so I drew that shape onto a piece of graphics medium weight chipboard and cut it out with some scissors. Now I wanted a backing of wooden planks for this billboard, and I figured I could either use coffee stirrers individually and stick them all on, but I thought, you know what, I've got some balsa wood here in a very thin sheet, so I figured I would just glue the whole sheet to the back of the billboard and carve wooden planks into it. So I took a sharpened paintbrush handle and a metal ruler and went down and created some 1/2 inch planks of wood, and then further divided them into 1/4 inch planks of wood, and I gave them some texture using a wire brush. Now this billboard turned watchtower is actually going to need a big hole in it, so I chopped out a few of these planks of wood using a knife and accidentally snapped the balsa wood in the process, but not to worry. The hole was a little bit cockeyed, so I just had to trim it slightly to get it nice and flush with both sides. And to attach the balsa wood to the graphics chipboard, I just used some no-nails glue and smeared it all over in a nice thin layer, leaving a small gap in the middle for the hole in the wood. And reattaching that little piece, and then I put this whole thing under something heavy just to make sure it stuck down. And to simulate a little bit of texture and also to strengthen this billboard, I added some cable ties on the back and super glued them down. Now for the main support legs, I guess, for this billboard, I'm just using some styrene rods. These are I-beams, and you know, they're pretty chunky. I wanted them to look robust and not to bend too much whilst this piece of terrain might be played on. So I just trimmed some down using a Stanley knife and took the barcode off one, and then glued them down using some super glue onto the base. The base is just a tea coaster made of MDF. Now my tub of all-purpose filler hasn't run out yet, and it still hasn't dried out, so I'm going to try and use it as much as I can. The best way to do this seems to be using a finger, so I'm just going to smear it all over the base, hopefully add a little bit of chunkiness and kind of natural earth-like undulations, and hopefully strengthen the base of the legs as well. Now this was actually starting to dry out pretty quickly because it was quite a warm day, and I just took a little bit of paint water and smeared it all around just to help smooth out that texture. Okay, so I found some of these online. These are Aquarium filter panels or something. I just sliced one in half. These things are great for gantries and walkways, and I mean, you can tell these things are just made for 40k. So I just sliced one in half, and I thought I would just add it to the back of the billboard as kind of like an area where people could stand and use it as a watchtower. But the graphics medium weight chipboard had to be sliced away from the hole in the balsa wood backing, so I got a knife and I carved that out. And using some super glue, I just secured this plastic walkway to the back. Now this billboard needs a border, so I figured I would use this L-shaped styrene rod, which is great for this kind of thing. Really easy to work with, so I just trimmed the ends into a 45-degree angle. I did that on all four sides and applied them to the edges of the billboard. Now it's time to secure this whole thing to its legs, so I trimmed a few little holes there in the gantry work on the back of the billboard. I just had to slide it down over the I-beams that were on the base, and I could just glue the I-beams to the blue cable tie there on the back of it. Now the rest of the aquarium filter actually had a bit of use as well, so I just trimmed that down and used it as a kind of a railing to go around the gantry, just for safety and stuff. So I took a knife, trimmed it off and glued it onto the back. I also added a little ladder there as well, just so that people can get up and down. And then it was time to texture the base. I'm using some PVA glue, spread it around. There's also a few rocks on the base there. And then I'm going to apply some basing sand. This is just the one I always use for pretty much everything, all my bases, all my terrain, everything. It's a mixture of different grain sizes, some chunkier ballast in there, and then there's mostly sand. And with that base dry, I undercoated that with a brown primer, and the main bulk of the billboard got a black spray primer. I wanted to give the impression that this billboard had been fortified a little bit, so I found some textured styrene sheets, just some offcuts, little bits I'd lying around. These are great. These really highly texture any terrain piece that you're making, so I'd highly recommend people get these. I cut them into sheets, small sheets, roughed them up a little bit on the edges, put some bullet holes in them, and started sticking them down to the terrain. Okay, now it's time to get on with the painting. So I'm using a flat brown by Vallejo and just going to go over all of the metallic work, so the gantry, the billboard trim, the little supporting beams, everything that would be metallic, the ladder as well. This is all going to get a kind of a rusty effect going on. The base was looking a little bit dark, so I lightened it up a lot with a base coat of Vallejo earth colour. The balsa wood backing got a very watered down coat of bone white. And any rocks and stones on the base got a base coat of light grey. Okay, so this is possibly my favourite step of any kind of futuristic or urban environment build. I'm doing the rust, so I'm using riser rust from Citadel, and the idea is to go over literally every single thing that was painted with the flat brown earlier and kind of stipple it on and then blend it out. So this is the technique I use, and hopefully this will give a really good kind of blended orange to brown rusty tone to it. And now with the whole piece looking very rusty, I'm going to move on to the base again, and I'm using my normal black brown wash to cover the entire base and hopefully bring out a little bit of that texture. Now that base actually darkened down quite a lot, so I went back over it again with some Zandri dust from Citadel, and that helped to bring out that texture in the sand and make it a little bit lighter. Okay, so masking fluid. This stuff, although it smells horrible, it's really useful. If you just dab it on really lightly with the sponge, the idea is here that everywhere you put this, the rust is going to show through. So I'm going to be giving this rusty metal another top coat of paint, but wherever I paint over it, over this masking fluid, that paint's going to come off and it's going to show the rust that I've already painted on underneath it. So everywhere that you want to paint a top coat over, wherever you put this masking fluid, the rust underneath will show through. So the top coat of paint is going to be a kind of a deep blue, and it's going to go down the legs and around the trim of the billboard. Now comes the incredibly satisfying task of peeling off the masking fluid. This is definitely the best part of using this. It's just really satisfying. All you got to do is lightly rub your fingers over where you've put masking fluid, and it should just slowly peel off. And it peels up pretty easily. Okay, so I mocked up this little billboard here to go on the front. I used my computer at home to do that and just printed it out. And then I had to cut the hole through the paper of the billboard. So I did that using an X-Acto knife. And now it's time to add a little bit of flock to the base. So I'm using a mixture of kind of dead grass and dying grass just to have a kind of a Badlands look. And because this hole in the front was looking a little bit too clean for my liking, I just took some tweezers and very carefully ripped a big chunk down. I thought I didn't want to ruin it, but you know what, it actually turned out pretty well in the end. So I began applying some weathering powders here to the paperwork on the billboard. And this stuff is actually really good. I was really happy with this result. Just used a mix of different colours and tints, so some rusty, some kind of dark brown dirty colours, and some kind of like a really khaki greeny browny colour, just to simulate some kind of like dampness and mould and things. And then I went around all of that rusty metal with a metallic silver, just to simulate and highlight the fact that, you know, as this platform is walked upon and bullets are pinging off it and things, you know, maybe it uncovers a little bit of fresh unrusted metal, and you know, it should help really sell the idea of this this thing being a weathered old billboard / watchtower. And then I painted up a few little bits from the bits box, some crates and things, and a radio. And then I weathered them as well with the weathering powder. And you might also be able to see that I added some graffiti in various places, just to really give it that kind of abandoned feel. And there we have it, all done. Pretty pleased with it. Yeah, very, really quite a fun build. I really like weathering things and just kind of making things look generally battered and rusty and grimy, and like, this has seen much better days. But I really like, you know, the little details on it, the graffiti, and the weathering powder is something I've not used very much of in the past, but honestly, it might make a more permanent addition to my modelling process, I think. So yeah, that's my billboard all finished. If you enjoyed this video and you like this build, then please feel free to like, comment and subscribe below if you haven't already subscribed. And yeah, hopefully I can get a new video out to you next time. I am on Instagram if you'd like to follow me on there, and also on Facebook, so feel free to check me out on that one as well. I do have some Amazon affiliate links in the description below if you want to check those out. Nothing really too related to the things in this video, but there's some links in there. If you're in the UK only, you can check those out and maybe use them, and it gives me a little bit of a kickback in terms of like a finder's fee, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. So yeah, that's all for this video. I'll see you again next time, and happy crafting.